Welcome to the Writing Clear and Concise Emails section of our course. Now, you might be thinking, I write emails every day. How hard can it be to make them clear and concise? Well, in our fast-paced, information-overloaded world, the ability to communicate clearly and concisely is more valuable than ever. Think of your email as a vehicle for your ideas. You want it to be streamlined, powerful, and able to navigate through the busy traffic of your recipient's inbox. In the next few minutes, we're going to tune up your email writing skills to make your messages as clear and impactful as possible. We'll cover several key areas. First, we'll talk about the art of getting to the point quickly. In email, brevity isn't just the soul of wit, it's the key to getting your message across. Next, we'll explore the power of active voice. This simple technique can make your emails more dynamic and easier to understand. We'll also tackle the challenge of avoiding jargon and unnecessary words. Remember, your goal is communication, not demonstration of your vocabulary. Finally, we'll discuss the crucial step of proofreading and editing. Even the best writers need to review and refine their work. Throughout this section, we'll be sharing practical tips and real-world examples. By the time we're done, you'll have the tools to craft emails that are clear, concise, and impossible to misunderstand. So, are you ready to supercharge your email writing skills? Let's dive in. Let's kick off with a fundamental truth of email communication: brevity is king. In our fast-paced world, time is a precious commodity. By getting to the point quickly, you're not just saving your own time, you're respecting your recipient's time too. Think about your own inbox. Which of these would you be more likely to read and respond to quickly? The novel-length emails or the short, snappy ones? Remember, your goal is to convey your message in as few words as possible without losing clarity. It's a skill that takes practice, but it's well worth mastering. Now, let's talk about a powerful technique borrowed from journalism: the inverted pyramid. This approach is all about front-loading your email with the most crucial information. Start with your main point or request. Follow that with any supporting details, and if necessary, end with background information. This structure ensures that even if your recipient only reads the first few lines, they'll get the gist of your message. Let's look at an example. See how the key information is right at the top? That's the inverted pyramid in action. It's like giving your reader a too long didn't read summary right at the start. Here's a handy rule of thumb: the 1-minute rule. The goal is to craft emails that can be read and understood in 1 minute or less. Given that the average reading speed is about 200 to 250 words per minute, aim to keep your email body to around 200 words max. If you find your message running longer, consider using bullet points to break it up, or ask yourself if it might be better as a meeting or phone call. Here's a challenge for you: try summarizing your entire email in a single sentence. If you can do that, you're on the right track to concise communication. Remember, in email, less is often more. Let's wrap up with some practical tips to help you trim the fat from your emails. First, use clear, specific subject lines. They set the stage for concise content. Always state your purpose in the first sentence. Don't make your reader hunt for why you're writing. Be on the lookout for redundant phrases. For example, why say at this point in time when now will do? We'll talk more about active voice in our next section, but know that it's a powerful tool for conciseness. Finally, when you proofread, do so with an eye for brevity. Ask yourself, can I say this more succinctly? With practice, you'll find yourself naturally writing clearer, more concise emails that get results. Let's dive into one of the most powerful tools in your email writing toolkit: active voice. Now, you might be thinking, active voice? Isn't that something from English class? Well, yes, but it's also a game changer for clear communication. In active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. In passive voice, the subject receives the action. Let's look at an example. The team completed the project is active. The project was completed by the team is passive. See the difference? Active voice is clearer, more direct, and often more concise. And in the world of email, those qualities are pure gold. So why does active voice matter so much in emails? First and foremost, it increases readability. Look at these two inboxes. Which one seems easier to tackle? Active voice also assigns clear responsibility. Instead of mistakes were made, you get John made a mistake. It's more direct and leaves no room for ambiguity. Active voice also makes your writing more engaging and dynamic. It's like the difference between watching a live sports event and reading a dry recap. And here's a bonus. Active voice often reduces word count, aligning perfectly with our goal of clear, concise communication. In the email world, where every word counts, that's a big win. Now that we know why active voice is important, let's talk about how to spot passive voice and convert it to active. Look out for forms of to be followed by a past participle or the presence of a by phrase. These are red flags for passive voice. To convert to active, first identify the action in the sentence. Then, figure out who or what is performing that action. Finally, restructure your sentence to put that actor front and center. Let's try a quick exercise. Take a moment to convert these passive sentences to active ones. Great job. With practice, this will become second nature. Let's wrap up with some practical tips to help you maintain an active voice in your emails. First, try to start your sentences with the doer of the action. Instead of "the meeting was scheduled by Sarah," write "Sarah scheduled the meeting." Use strong, active verbs. The team achieved the goal is much stronger than the goal was achieved by the team. Be clear about who's responsible for actions. This not only makes your writing more active, but it also helps in assigning tasks and responsibilities. Watch out for phrases like "there is" or "it is." They often lead to passive constructions. And here's a pro tip. Read your email aloud before sending. You'll be surprised how many passive constructions you catch this way. Remember, practice makes perfect. Soon, writing an active voice will be as natural as hitting that send button. Now, let's transform passive sentences into active ones. Here's our first example. The report was submitted by the marketing team. This is passive voice. Watch as we change it to active. The marketing team submitted the report. See how it's more direct and clear? Let's try another. The meeting will be scheduled by HR. We can improve this to HR will schedule the meeting. Active voice makes your writing more concise and impactful. Welcome to our session on avoiding jargon and unnecessary words in emails. Now, you might be thinking, but I need to sound professional. Well, let me tell you, true professionalism lies in clear communication, not in how many big words you can use. See how jargon and extra words can muddy your message. Jargon or specialized terms can be a real roadblock if your recipient isn't familiar with them. And unnecessary words? They're like forcing your reader to wade through a swamp to get to your point. Remember, in email, clarity is king. Your goal is to be understood, not to impress with your vocabulary. Let's play a game I like to call Spot the Jargon. Here's our jargon jar, a collection of terms that often creep into our emails and make them less clear. How many of these have you used recently? Instead of leverage, why not just say use? Touch base can simply be talk or meet. And let's not forget those unnecessary phrases. At this point in time is just a fancy way of saying now. The key is to ask yourself, is there a simpler way to say this? If there is, go with that. Your readers will thank you. Now that we can spot jargon and wordiness, let's talk about how to simplify our language. Imagine your email going through this language simplifier. First, embrace plain language. If there's a simple word that does the job, use it. Your goal is to be understood, not to send your readers scrambling for a dictionary. Next, become a word-cutting ninja. Slash those redundancies and filler words. They're just taking up valuable space. And remember our friend, active voice. It's a great tool for cutting unnecessary words. Here's a pro tip. Read your email aloud before sending. You'll be amazed at how many wordy phrases you catch this way. Let's address the elephant in the room. The myth that using complex language makes you sound more professional. In reality, true professionalism is about clear communication. Does this mean you should write like you're texting a friend? Of course not. The key is finding the right balance. Use industry standard terms when you need to, but don't be afraid to explain them. Be polite and respectful, but don't add unnecessary words just to sound formal. Remember, your ultimate goal is effective communication. If your reader understands your message quickly and easily, you've succeeded, and that's the mark of a true professional. So, next time you're tempted to use a big word or a complex phrase, ask yourself, will this help or hinder my message? Your readers will appreciate your clarity, and that's the best impression you can make. Welcome to our final stop on the journey to clear and concise emails: proofreading and editing. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking: I don't have time for that, but trust me, a few minutes spent proofreading can save you hours of damage control later. Which of these emails would you rather send? Proofreading isn't just about catching typos, though that's important too. It's about ensuring your message is clear, your tone is appropriate, and you're presenting your best professional self. In the fast-paced world of email, it's easy to hit send too quickly. But remember, once that email is out there, you can't take it back. So let's make sure it's right the first time. Let's break down our review process into two key steps: editing and proofreading. Think of editing as the big picture review and proofreading as the fine-tooth comb. When you edit, you're looking at the overall message. Is it clear? Concise? Does it flow well? This is where you refine your tone and structure. Proofreading, on the other hand, is all about the details. You're hunting for typos, checking your grammar, and making sure all your facts are correct. It might seem like overkill to do both, but trust me, this two-step approach can make a world of difference. It's like the difference between a rough draft and a polished final version. And in the professional world, you always want to send the polished version. Now, let's fill up your proofreading toolkit with some practical techniques. First up, try reading your email backwards. Sounds weird, right? But it's a great way to catch spelling errors because you're seeing each word in isolation. Text-to-speech tools can be a game changer. Hearing your email read aloud can help you catch awkward phrasing or missing words. Taking a break before proofreading gives you fresh eyes. Even a 5-minute breather can make a difference. And here's a pro tip. Change the font or format of your email. It's like looking at it with new eyes. While spell checkers are useful, don't rely on them entirely. They won't catch everything, especially if you've used the wrong word but spelled it correctly. Finally, create a personal checklist of your common mistakes. We all have our quirks. Knowing yours can help you catch them more easily. We've reached the final countdown before liftoff. Before hitting send. Think of this as your pre-flight checklist. First and foremost, double-check those recipient names and email addresses. There's nothing quite like the sinking feeling of realizing you've sent a confidential email to the wrong person. Verify your attachments. Are they all there, and are they the correct versions? Give that subject line one last look. Is it clear? Relevant? Now, take a moment to consider the tone. Could anything be misinterpreted? Remember, without facial expressions and voice inflection, it's easy for tone to get lost in email. Step back and ask yourself, does this email achieve its purpose? And here's a final pro tip. When in doubt, ask a trusted colleague to take a look. A fresh pair of eyes can work wonders. Remember, these few extra moments of checking can save you from potential embarrassment or miscommunication. It's always better to be safe than sorry in the email world. Welcome to our section on email etiquette and professionalism. In our digital age, the way we communicate via email can make or break our professional relationships and even our careers. It's not just about what we say, but how we say it. Think about it. How many times have you received an email that made you cringe? Maybe it was too casual, filled with typos, or came across as rude or demanding. On the flip side, I'm sure we've all received emails that left us impressed, clear, courteous, and effectively conveying their message. That's what we're aiming for here. In the next few minutes, we'll explore the key elements that make up a professional email. We'll talk about tone, cultural considerations, handling sensitive information, and the proper use of those sometimes tricky CC and BCC fields. By the end of this section, you'll have the tools to craft emails that not only get your message across but also enhance your professional image. Remember, in many cases, your email is your virtual handshake. It's often the first impression you make in the business world. Let's make sure it's a good one. So, are you ready to level up your email game? Let's dive in. Now, let's talk about tone and language, the heart and soul of your email communication. Getting this right can be a bit like walking a tightrope, can it? Too formal, and you might come across as cold or unapproachable. Too casual, and you risk appearing unprofessional. The key is striking the right balance. You want to be professional, yet approachable, confident, but not arrogant. Think of it as the Goldilocks zone of email communication, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Here's a pro tip. Start with a tone that's a bit more formal than your spoken conversation would be. Then adjust based on your relationship with the recipient and the context of your email. For instance, you might use a more formal tone with a client you're emailing for the first time, but a friendlier tone with a colleague you've worked with for years. Always aim for a confident and positive tone. Instead of writing, "I'm not sure if this will work," try, "I believe this approach has potential." See the difference? It's subtle, but it can significantly impact how your message is received. Now, let's talk about what to avoid. Emotional language and sarcasm are big no-nos in professional emails. They can be easily misinterpreted without the context of facial expressions and tone of voice. I once saw a sarcastic comment in an email spiral into a major misunderstanding that took weeks to resolve. Trust me, it's not worth the risk. Remember, your tone sets the stage for how your message will be received. Master it, and you're well on your way to email excellence. Any questions about striking the right tone before we move on? As our business world becomes increasingly global, understanding cultural considerations in our email communication is more crucial than ever. Think about it. An email that's perfectly acceptable in New York might inadvertently offend someone in Tokyo or confuse a recipient in Rio de Janeiro. It's like navigating a cultural minefield, isn't it? But don't worry, with a bit of awareness and adaptability, we can master the art of cross-cultural email communication. First things first, be aware that communication styles can vary greatly across cultures. For example, some cultures value directness, while others prefer a more indirect approach. In the US, we might get straight to the point, but in many Asian cultures, it's common to build rapport before discussing business matters. Greetings and closings are another area where cultural awareness is key. "Hey there" might be fine for your colleague down the hall, but it could be seen as disrespectful in more formal cultures. A safe bet? Start formal and mirror the tone your recipient uses. Now, here's a tricky one: idiomatic expressions and humor. These can be real pitfalls in cross-cultural communication. What's funny in one culture might be confusing or even offensive in another. I once saw a colleague use the expression, "It's raining cats and dogs" in an email to a Chinese client. Let's just say it led to some interesting follow-up questions. Lastly, don't forget about time zones. When you're firing off that urgent email at 9 a.m. your time, it might be the middle of the night for your recipient. Be mindful of this when setting response expectations. Remember, the goal is to communicate clearly and respectfully across cultural boundaries. It takes a bit of extra thought, but the payoff in smoother global relationships is worth it. Any experiences with cross-cultural email mishaps you'd like to share? Now, let's delve into a critical aspect of email etiquette: handling sensitive information. This isn't just about being polite. It's about protecting yourself, your company, and your clients. In today's digital age, a single mishandled email can lead to devastating consequences. First, let's understand what we mean by sensitive information. This can include financial data, personal information, trade secrets, and even seemingly innocent details that could be pieced together by bad actors. If you wouldn't shout it across a crowded room, it probably shouldn't be in an unsecured email. Now, why is this so important? Well, let's look at the legal and ethical considerations. So we've covered why handling sensitive information properly is crucial. Now, let's talk about how to do it. I promise, by the end of this, you'll be a pro at keeping your emails secure. The golden rule? When in doubt, err on the side of caution. It's always better to be a little too careful than not careful enough. Start by familiarizing yourself with your company's policies and any industry regulations. These are your baseline for handling sensitive data. Now, let's talk best practices. Encryption is your best friend when it comes to sending sensitive information via email. Many email clients have built-in encryption features. Learn to use them. Trust me, it's easier than it sounds. Sometimes, email might not be the best choice for very sensitive information. Consider secure file transfer protocols or even good old-fashioned phone calls or in-person meetings for highly confidential matters. But what if you accidentally hit send on an email containing sensitive info? Don't panic. Here are the steps you should take. Remember, handling sensitive information correctly is a skill that can set you apart in your professional life. It shows that you're trustworthy, detail-oriented, and respectful of privacy and security concerns. Master this, and you'll be the go-to person for handling important communications in your organization. Any questions about keeping your emails secure and handling sensitive information appropriately? All right, let's tackle what I like to call the three musketeers of email communication: CC, BCC, and reply all. They might seem straightforward, but misusing these can lead to some pretty awkward situations. Trust me, I've seen it happen. Let's start with CC, or carbon copy. The purpose of CC is to keep people in the loop who aren't the primary recipients of your message. Think of it as FYI, for your information. But here's the catch: don't go CC crazy. Only include people who truly need to be aware of the communication. Nobody likes a cluttered inbox, right? Now, onto the more mysterious BCC, or blind carbon copy. Cue the spy music. BCC is full when you want to include someone in the email without other recipients knowing. But use it wisely. It's great for protecting privacy in mass emails or looping in a supervisor discreetly, but it can erode trust if misused. Here's a pro tip. If you're sending a newsletter or announcement to a large group, always use BCC. It keeps everyone's email addresses private and prevents the dreaded reply all avalanche we're about to discuss. Speaking of reply all, let's talk about this double-edged sword. We've all been there. You're quietly working when suddenly your inbox explodes with a flurry of thanks and got it messages from a reply all chain. Not fun, right? Here's the golden rule. Before hitting reply all, ask yourself, does everyone on this thread really need to see my response? If the answer is no, just reply to the sender. Your colleagues' inboxes will thank you. Remember, reply all can also lead to some embarrassing situations. I once saw someone complain about a client using reply all, and yes, the client was on the thread. Ouch! Always double-check your recipients before sending. To wrap up, think of CC, BCC, and reply all as powerful tools in your email arsenal. Use them thoughtfully and you'll communicate more effectively while keeping everyone's inboxes manageable. Any horror stories or questions about these features you'd like to share? Let's explore the proper use of CC, BCC, and reply all. In this example, we're sending a primary recipient the main message. We're CCing another colleague who needs to be informed, but doesn't need to take action. We're BCCing ourselves to keep a record without cluttering others' inboxes. Now, when replying, we use reply all because everyone in the thread needs this information. Remember, only use reply all when your response is relevant to everyone included. Great job, everyone! Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered in this crucial section on email etiquette and professionalism. We started by discussing tone and language, emphasizing the importance of finding that sweet spot between formal and friendly. Remember, your words set the tone for your professional relationships. Next, we explored cultural considerations in our increasingly global business world. Being aware and adaptable in your communication style can make a world of difference when working across cultures. We then delved into the critical topic of handling sensitive information. Security isn't just IT's job, it's everyone's responsibility. Always err on the side of caution when dealing with sensitive data in your emails. Finally, we demystified the proper use of CC, BCC, and reply all. These powerful tools can either make you a communication pro or, well, let's just say they can lead to some awkward situations if misused. By mastering these aspects of email etiquette, you're not just improving your communication skills, you're enhancing your professional image and effectiveness. Any final questions before we move on to our next exciting topic? Welcome to the Managing Email Overload section of our Effective Email Writing and Management course. In today's fast-paced digital world, email has become both a blessing and a curse. While it's an essential tool for professional communication, it can also be a source of stress and inefficiency if not managed properly. In this section, we'll explore practical strategies and techniques to help you take control of your inbox, increase your productivity, and reduce email-related stress. We'll cover inbox organization techniques, creating folders and labels, using filters and rules, the inbox zero approach. By the end of this section, you'll have a toolkit of strategies to manage your email more effectively, allowing you to focus on what really matters in your workday. Let's dive in and learn how to tame the email beast. Welcome to our section on managing email overload. Now, I'm sure many of you can relate to feeling overwhelmed by your inbox. Let's look at some eye-opening statistics. Did you know that the average office worker spends a whopping 28% of their workweek just managing email? That's more than a quarter of your work time. And it's not just about time, it's affecting our well-being too. 2/3 of employees report high stress levels due to email overload. But here's where it gets really serious. Unmanaged email can lead to missed deadlines and lost opportunities. How many of you have had that sinking feeling of finding an important email buried in your inbox, but it's too late to act on it? Now, here's the good news. Effective email management can save you up to 2 hours per day. Just imagine what you could do with an extra 10 hours a week. Throughout this section, we'll explore strategies to help you reclaim that time and reduce your email stress. Ready to take control of your inbox? Let's get started. Now that we understand the challenge, let's dive into some practical inbox organization techniques. First up, we have the 2-minute rule. It's simple. If an email task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This prevents small tasks from piling up and becoming overwhelming. Next, we have the 4Ds method. When you open an email, you have 4 options: delete, do, delegate, or defer. This helps you make quick decisions and keeps your inbox from becoming a to-do list. Speaking of which, let's talk about folders. A waiting for folder is great for emails you're expecting responses to. Just move the email there and set a reminder to follow up if needed. Similarly, an action-required folder can help you separate important tasks from general information. Lastly, we have the Ohio principle. Only handle it once. This means making a decision about an email as soon as you read it, rather than marking it as unread or leaving it in your inbox. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but how do I actually implement these? Don't worry, we'll be diving deeper into each of these techniques and practicing them together. Remember, the goal isn't to achieve inbox perfection overnight. It's about gradually building habits that make email management less stressful and more efficient. Are you ready to start organizing your inbox like a pro? Now, let's talk about a game changer in email management: strategic folder organization. We'll focus on two key folders that can dramatically improve your email workflow. First up is the Waiting for folder. This is your secret weapon for tracking emails you're expecting responses to. Here's how it works. Whenever you send an email that requires action from someone else, simply move a copy of that sent email into your Waiting for folder. This keeps your inbox clear while ensuring nothing falls through the cracks. The benefits: reduced inbox clutter and improved follow-up. No more frantically searching for that important email you sent last week. Next, we have the Action Required folder. This is your personal to-do list within your email client. Use this folder to store emails that need your attention or action but can't be dealt with immediately. This separates truly actionable items from general information, helping you prioritize more effectively. Now, you might be thinking, what about other types of emails? Great question. Consider creating a reference folder for important information you'll need to access later. An archives folder can store completed projects or old conversations. And if your workplace allows it, a personal folder can help separate work from non-work emails. But here's a word of caution: don't go overboard with folders. The goal is to simplify, not create a complex filing system. Stick to a limited number of clearly named folders. And remember to regularly review and clean out these folders. It's all too easy for the Action Required folder to become a graveyard of forgotten tasks if you're not careful. So, who's ready to set up their Waiting for and Action Required folders? Trust me, once you start using these, you'll wonder how you ever managed without them. Now, let's explore a powerful framework for managing your inbox: the 4Ds method. This technique gives you 4 clear options for every email you receive, helping you make quick decisions and keep your inbox under control. Let's break it down. First, we have delete. Be ruthless here. If an email doesn't require action or contain important information, get rid of it. Your future self will thank you. Next is do. This ties in nicely with our 2-minute rule. If you can handle it quickly, do it right away. Third, we have delegate. If someone else is better suited to handle the email, forward it to them promptly. Don't become a bottleneck. And finally, defer for emails that require more time or thought. Schedule when you'll deal with them. The beauty of this method is its simplicity. It streamlines your decision-making process, reducing that dreaded email backlog and improving your focus and productivity. Now, let's talk implementation. I recommend applying the 4Ds during scheduled email processing times. This helps you stay focused and avoid constant inbox distractions. To speed things up, learn and use keyboard shortcuts for these actions in your email client. And for common responses, create templates. This can be a huge time saver for the do and delegate categories. Remember, the goal isn't to achieve inbox zero every day. It's to ensure that every email has a clear next action. With practice, you'll find yourself blazing through your inbox, making confident decisions about each message. Who's excited to give the 4Ds a try? Let's wrap up our inbox organization techniques with a principle that ties everything together. Ohio, or only handle it once. The concept is straightforward but powerful. Make a decision about each email immediately, rather than reading it and then marking it as unread or leaving it in your inbox. This principle works hand in hand with the 4Ds method we discussed earlier. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal about handling an email once? Well, the benefits are significant. First, it reduces decision fatigue. Every time you open an email and don't take action, you're forcing your brain to make that decision again later. Second, it saves time in the long run, no more rereading emails multiple times. And third, it keeps your inbox manageable, preventing that overwhelming feeling of a cluttered inbox. So, how do we implement this? Start by scheduling specific times for email processing. This helps you approach your inbox with focus and intention. When you open an email, do so with the intent to act on it immediately. Apply the 4Ds method: delete, do, delegate, or defer. And finally, move the email out of your inbox after you've made your decision. Now, I know this can be challenging at first. You might struggle with making quick decisions or fear missing important information. The key is to practice and perhaps set time limits for decision making. Remember, you can always use folders and your email search function to find information later. And if you've been using your inbox as a to-do list, consider transitioning to dedicated task management tools. The Ohio principle isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Even if you can't always handle every email once, applying this principle to most of your emails will significantly improve your email management. So, who's ready to give Ohio a try? Your future, less stressed self will thank you. Let's dive deeper into our first inbox organization technique, the 2-minute rule. This principle is beautifully simple. If an email task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. Now, why 2 minutes? It's short enough to handle quickly, but long enough to accomplish something meaningful. The benefits of this rule are threefold. First, it prevents small tasks from piling up and becoming overwhelming. Second, it reduces mental clutter. No more nagging thoughts about that quick reply you've been putting off. And third, it increases your overall productivity by keeping your workflow smooth and uninterrupted. So, what kinds of tasks typically fall under the 2-minute rule? Quick replies are a prime example. Forwarding information to the right person is another. And making simple decisions, like accepting a meeting invite, also fits the bill. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But what if I get distracted by these quick tasks? That's a valid concern. The key is to batch your email processing time. Don't keep your inbox open all day, constantly pouncing on new messages. Instead, schedule specific times to check your email and apply the 2-minute rule then. Another challenge is accurately estimating what takes 2 minutes. In the beginning, you might want to use a timer to get a feel for it. With practice, you'll develop an intuitive sense. Remember, the goal of the 2-minute rule isn't to make you a slave to your inbox. It's to free you from the tyranny of small, nagging tasks so you can focus on bigger, more important work. Who's ready to give it a try?